I should let everybody know. Okay, let me see if I can do this way. Hold on. All right, I'll just have to do it this way. Okay, so we're going to be talking all about, not that. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning here. Perfect. Okay, cool. We're going to be talking about content growth and engagement strategies today. So this is really going to be like the nitty gritty of how you're going to use social media to really connect with new people, really make those conversions on through social media, and really just kind of help you have that accountability. So last week we talked all about how you can find your niche and how you can decide what the heck to start talking about. So hopefully you guys have taken time to basically brain dump on that and figure out what you want to do and what direction you want to go with your social media. Because if you don't have that in mind, this part's really not going to make sense. So if you missed last week, make sure to go and rewatch the training from last week. Otherwise, none of this is really going to make a whole lot of sense. You can still use some of it, but it's a lot easier if you have your niche figured out. So we're going to be talking about a lot of like tips and tricks. I'm even going to go into detail about how I personally plan my content. We're going to talk about how to batch content to save you time, how to read your insights and understand them, and also how to use them to help you create content. We're going to talk about the best times to post, how often to post, what kind of features to use, because Instagram has so many features now. And then we're also going to talk about how to make connections and get more eyes on your content just in general. We all know that conversions doesn't happen without any sort of a strategy. Nobody blows up really on accident unless it's on TikTok. A lot of it is very intentional, even if it may not seem like it from the outside. So we have to be doing the homework behind it to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to get the growth that you're trying to see. And we all know that social media isn't just about the vanity metrics and, saying that you're growing just to grow. We all know that we're trying to use this for our business and to build relationships with people and meet more people and create more opportunities. So that's really the goal here. So if you're here for just the vanity metrics, you're in the wrong spot, but this will help with that too, I guess. So first things first is the content strategy. So this is my step-by-step process of how I plan my content. I created a reel on this not too long ago. So if you want to go and check that out, you can, but it's basically everything I'm about to say here. I plan a month's worth of content in under an hour. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because although, yes, I do have it all written out and I do have it all planned out, you do still have to do a little bit of homework with it each time. So first off, this is like your pre-work to everything else. This is your pre-work to your growth and your engagement and all of that. You have to have this figured out before you can go on and do anything else. And again, you have to have your niche figured out before that. So it all starts by writing down your 3 to 7 brand pillars. I have a Google Doc personally that I can access from my phone. I know a lot of other people like to use notes on their iPhone or something like that, whatever's going to work best for you. Because I know for me, I'm the kind of person who gets all these ideas like when I'm in the shower or when I'm driving or something like that. So I never see, or like, I never like, I'm not ever going to remember that when it comes time for me to actually sit down and content plan. So I have to have something with me, which my phone's always with me all the time. So I can go ahead and jot it down real quick right there. So I have a Google Doc just because I don't have a fancy Mac computer and can't connect my notes to it, but I can look up my Google Drive and stuff like that. So I've got one of those. That's what works easiest for me. And as I go throughout the day, I just jot down any ideas that I have. But if I'm like at the very beginning of the month and I'm trying to do a refresh of my content plan, or like when I just started, I wrote down each of my brand pillars, whatever those may be, which we talked about those a little bit last week. And then I set a timer for like 20 to 30 minutes, just kind of however long I've got. and I brain dump under each pillar, and I just think about every single thing that I can possibly think of. And I don't just mean every single thing. I mean like what's actually going to make good content, what kind of topics would I want to talk about, what kind of subjects under each brand pillar, under each corresponding pillar. Some things that have helped me with that, and this is kind of in the tip section down there, is looking at others for inspiration. And I'm not trying to say copy other people's content. Please don't copy other people's content, but maybe somebody posted a really funny reel and you just liked how they presented it, or you maybe really liked the sound and you wanted to save the sound and use it for your own thing. Or maybe, you know, somebody had said something in a post that really stuck out to you and you want to rework that in your own words and make it as a reel instead, or share it as an IGTV or something like that. You wanted to expand upon it with your own thoughts, anything like that. I have a folder on my Instagram underneath my saved tab. You can create different folders in there if you didn't know that. And I have a folder saved on there that's all about like ideas that I want to come back to later. So usually once a month, I'll come back to that and just like go through it and rewrite down everything that I had, unless I wrote it down in that moment. But that kind of thing helps. And thinking about like questions that people have asked me in the past, or just questions that I may have had in the past that I can now answer and can post about, stuff like that. Because maybe you don't have, maybe you're not at the point yet where people are asking you questions about stuff, you know, think about the questions that you have and how can you answer those and put it onto your Instagram account. So any idea like that that comes to your mind, jot that down. Every single idea. I'm telling you, you want to have as many ideas as you possibly can, because the next step is you're going to actually print out a calendar and you're going to transfer all of those ideas to that calendar. So this is where you're like actually putting it on paper and making it a thing. And I know for me, I get so hung up, like when I'm not content planning, I get so hung up on the day of, I'm like, okay, I need to post something and I have absolutely no idea what to talk about today. I don't have any inspiration. There's like nothing going on in my brain today. I don't know what to talk about. Well, this helps you avoid that, because now like you've already got an idea on paper. So there's no reason why you can't like just make a post about it. And then after this, you are going to pick one day each week to like get dressed up or whatever. So you can take content pictures if you don't already have some on your phone. So you can film all of your reels, and then you can also write out all of your captions. Now, if you even don't have time in a week for that, at least putting it on that calendar gives you a topic to talk about. I know a lot of you guys love the content calendars that we used to come out with every single week. Every single month. Those are just super duper general, and we're getting really niche specific now. So this is helpful for you with your niche. It's basically just like a prompt of what you can post about that day. So if you don't have anything properly planned, you've at least got a topic that you can post about. But I would suggest taking it a step further and picking one day each week. And for me, that usually takes an hour or so to actually, because I've already got the subject. I don't have to think super hard about what it is that I'm going to be talking about that week. I've already got the topic written down. So then all I have to do is, you know, film the reel real quick, which I've usually already planned out because I had the idea forever ago and I wrote it down, or I have to write out the caption for it and just pick a picture to go with it, stuff like that. Another thing that's really helpful whenever you are planning out your content and you're like writing down your ideas and brain dumping and stuff is if you have an idea for like a specific thing, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you saw somebody do a reel and you really liked the sound and you had your own idea to do with it. Write down next to that, you know, note on your phone, like, you know, reel, like let yourself know that it's a reel, and then write down like whatever sound you wanted to use and write down if you saved it and like what the name is under or something like that. That's something I always wanted to do, or something I always do in my content planning. So that way I know like, oh, okay, like that was the idea I had with that. That's where I was going with that. Or same thing with carousels, which we're going to talk a little bit about each different type of content a little bit. But a carousel is, you know, where you have to swipe, like it's the multiple pictures, so you have to swipe through it. So if you have an idea for a carousel post, I always like write that down too. Or if I want to expand upon something and I think it would make a really good IGTV, I write everything down, like every note I possibly can, because I'm a super forgetful person. So I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success whenever it does come time for me to come back each month and put all of that into a calendar. And if you guys need, I have, let me pull this out real quick so I can show you these. I have created my own little calendar thing that you can print out. You can easily just go to Canva and print out a blank calendar if you want. But I created my own calendar. It's this right here, but on this side, it gives you content goals. So it tells you how many of each post to aim for each week, and then questions to ask yourself before posting. And then it also gives you a section for notes and stuff like that. So it's not anything super fancy, but it's just some good reminders to have just in case. So I can share that in the accountability page once we get off of this call. So that is content strategy. Now, figuring out when and what to post can be really confusing. I feel like there's a lot of conflicting information out there. And if you saw my stories today, you probably heard a little bit about this already. I talked about it some, but there's a lot to think about when it comes on like what to post and when to post and how to post it and all of that thing. So when do you post? Some people say that you should post at the times that your audience is most active. Other people say you should post probably within the hour before they are most active. I personally say neither of those because let's be real, we're all busy people. Chances are we're not spending all day on our phones. I know even as a mom who stays home, like I know I've got a lot going on. I can't just like pop on my phone when everybody's most active, because chances are as a mom, like that's not when I'm most active. And that's just the reality of it. So I say throw that out the window and post whenever you can. And to be honest, you have to think about it. There's so many times where I'm scrolling on my Instagram and I see a post and I'm like, oh, that's super cute. I like it. And then I'd like scroll a little bit more and I see that it was posted 2 days ago. And I'm like, why am I just now seeing this? You know, it's really irritating. So that just shows me that Instagram's going to show my posts to people whenever it wants to anyways. So it doesn't really matter when you post, because it's not always going to, like, Instagram doesn't show posts in chronological order whenever it was posted anymore. They just show stuff whenever. So I don't think it matters as much now as it used to. I think the most important part is making sure that you're posting valuable content that people actually want to see and they want to interact with, and they watch it over and over again, or, you know, they scroll through it and they sit on the page long enough, like whatever it is, that's your goal, because that's what like will show your post or your reel or whatever to more and more people. That should be your goal, not so much when to post. So don't stress that a ton. It's really not worth it. Next thing is, which features should you be using? In my opinion, you should be using all of them. Every feature is important, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about each. I just did like a brief summary right there of each of them. Okay, it's saying I have a chat, but I can't see what it is, so I'm going to have to read it at the end. Sorry. Okay, so let's talk about each different feature and how you can use it, what it's good for, so and so. First one is going to be, I didn't put it on here on this list, but like regular post. A regular post is honestly just good for like a about me, or if you want to do like something inspirational. Those posts are usually really caption focused, in my opinion, just because it's a pretty picture, unless it's you want to just post a really pretty picture. So those regular posts are going to be for your pretty pictures and really in-depth captions. So good chance for people to get to know you on a deeper level. Maybe you have something inspirational you want to talk about that's been on your mind, stuff like that. That's, in my opinion, that's usually what those are best for. Next one is going to be reels, and reels are good for that quick viral content. You want to think about stuff that's going to be entertaining for people usually. Sometimes it's usually a mix of like the education and the entertainment. People call it edutainment. That is what reels are for. So if you can make something educational and make it funny, or, you know, entertaining or whatever, that's what that's going to be for. Next one is carousels, and carousels are for more of like the detailed info. So if it's like a like an example would be doing like 5 tips to have a better start to your morning or something like that. Like that could make a really good carousel because it's something that people have to swipe through, and it's something that you can write a decent amount on each, tip or whatever. And it doesn't even have to be a lot of text, to be honest. It's just something. The benefit of carousels are you want people to stay on your piece of content for as long as possible, because that shows Instagram that people like whatever it is that you're posting. That's the benefit of having long captions. And that's also the benefit of having carousels, because people are, they're going to sit and they're going to scroll, and it takes longer to sit and scroll through 5 to 10 pictures than just looking at one for a second with a short caption and scrolling past it. You're basically encouraging people to stay on your content for longer. So that's what those are good for, but it's also good for like breaking down that important information. So if you have something to break down that way, carousels is the way to go. Next one is IGTV. And these can be good for 2 things. On here, I have only written down that it's good to dive into one subject. And that's like the main way that I use it. So if there's something that, like a question that somebody has asked me before that I feel like I could just talk about on and on and on, like something I would do a team training on here, for example, or like something that like somebody asks you that question and you can just talk about it for 30 minutes straight. Like that's your cue to do an IGTV. So that's one good way to use it. Another good way is for Q&As, live Q&As. That's always good. Just because people like to get to know you, or they like to have their questions answered based on your expertise, whatever it may be. And people can now ask you questions live. They have that question box on there. So that's always helpful. And then the last one is going to be your stories. Now, I'm going to be honest. Instagram stories are not for growth. I know a lot of people say to like share the locations and like hashtags in your stories and whatnot. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but I don't think it's really worth it. I think the biggest thing to do in your stories is talk to the people who are already following you and really focus on building that relationship with them and let them get to know you on a deeper level. Stories are where people come to build a relationship with you. That's where you're going to build that trust factor, and they're really going to like learn who you are and see if you are really somebody that they click with and want to follow. So stories are for nurturing. Next thing, how much of each feature should you be posting? So I included in this list what I posted, but also on the flip side, what Instagram recommends, because Instagram, they're outrageous and they want you to be on their platform 24/7. So they suggest posting a lot of content. So I'm going to start with what they suggest. So what they suggest is posting 7 reels per week. I actually think it's like 7 to 10 reels per week. It's outrageous. They want you to make 7 static posts per week. At least 3 of those should be carousels. They want you to do 3 lives and turn them into IGTVs. And they want you to do 8 to 10 stories per day. So I don't think any of us really have time to do all of that. Like that is a lot of content to be putting out there. That's exactly why I'm not on TikTok yet, because you have to post like 3 times a day to be relevant. So what I do and what is my rule of thumb is I aim for, whenever I'm planning out my content calendar, I set it up this way. I aim to do 3 reels per week. I aim to do 3 regular static posts. Well, 3 posts, one of which is a carousel. So like a little bit more on the educational side. I aim for 1 live every single week that I'll turn into an IGTV, which that one doesn't always happen. I give myself some grace with that. And then 8 to 10 stories per day, because I feel like stories are super important. So I kept with that one. Now, that gives me 6 days worth of content, and it gives me 1 free day. So if there's like on a Sunday and I just really don't feel like posting, I just want to stay off my phone, then okay, I give myself grace. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to like what content you're posting, is giving yourself grace. You need to be consistent. You do need to be showing up regularly if you want to grow and reach more people. But if you miss 1 day or even 2 days, it's not the end of the world. Do what you are currently capable of doing, Don't cut yourself short, but do what you're capable of doing and show up as much as you possibly can without driving yourself crazy or running out of content ideas, because that would suck too. So 3 reels, 3 static posts, 1 as a carousel, 1 IGTV, and 8 to 10 stories per day. Next thing, we're going to be talking about your Instagram analytics. So I've had a lot of questions about this from you guys lately too. So I'm excited to break this down. I'm not going to go into every single thing on your insights. You can dive into that and you can check it all out yourself, but I'm going to talk to you about what I use personally, because I actually use my analytics to help me figure out what content to create, what people are liking, and what to make more of. So this is just like your analytics homepage. Essentially, if you have to be a business or a creator account to see these. And if you are not a business or a creator account, I highly suggest switching to at least a creator account. That's what I have. That's what I think most people suggest going with now, is if you're not like an actual storefront business with a Shopify account or something. So creator account, and then you'll be able to have access to all of these insights. So on your little homepage, the first thing on here is going to be accounts reached. That's just going to show you how many faces saw your content. Also, you're going to see at the top of this little page, it says last 30 days. When you pull that up, it's actually going to say last 7 days. I personally choose to change it to last 30 days because I don't micromanage my insights super much. I don't micromanage my insights a ton, just because it'll drive me crazy if I keep too much of an eye on it. So, and I feel like 30 days is a really good gauge to figure out, okay, what worked, what didn't, so on and so forth. I don't want to look at it every single week. This works for me for right now. So I switch it to 30 days, but the accounts reach is how many new faces saw your content, like individual people saw your content that week or that month, whatever you choose. The next one under it is content interactions. That's going to tell you basically what people thought of your content. Did they like it enough to interact with it? And then the next one under there is going to be about your audience. It tells you about your total followers, so any changes in your following, and then also the demographics. So if you want to see like what location people are at that are viewing your content, or like the percentage of men versus women, or even age ranges. And then also on there, you can see what times people are active. Now, Instagram analytics only gives you the like time frames in 3 hour, 3 hour increments, which is really weird. So that's another thing, is when it comes to figuring out when to post, it's not really helpful, if we're being totally honest. So, but it does give you that information. And then under there, it just shows you whatever content that you posted that week or that month. So what I personally use to help me determine what content to post, if you scroll down on that main page, like I show you, it shows you a summary of all of the content you shared. Like I mentioned before, I suggest setting it to the last 30 days so you can see an overview, but this will tell you like how much did you post during that month. It's pretty basic information. The next thing though is I click on the content interactions page, and this area gives you a breakdown of every single feature and how they did with your audience. So you can see it breaks it down by your post interactions, story interactions, reels. And then if you scroll down from there, it even shows you your IGTVs and your lives. It'll tell you all of the insights based on those, which is really cool, because it'll even tell you like how many people were on your IGTV total, what was like the peak number of people on there. It's really cool. They've really done a lot with their analytics, which by the way, this may not have rolled out to everybody yet. So if my analytics look different than yours, just know that they are updating it and yours will look like this soon. So underneath, you can see like in your post interactions, it'll show you how many people liked your stuff, commented, saved, shared, all the things. Same thing with your stories. It shows you how many people responded to them and shared them. And then the new thing is like your reels interactions. You finally have insights on your reels so you can see how they're doing. So whenever you scroll down, you can actually see what performed best. So again, this is why I set it to last 30 days, because I can see what performed best over the past month. I use this part to kind of help me figure out, okay, people really liked this. And it says on here, like top posts based on likes, top stories based on replies, top reels based on likes. I don't pay too much attention. I don't pay too much attention to the top stories because I go on there and really just kind of post whatever. Trying to provide value, but also like just day-to-day life. But I really focus on the posts and the reels. Those are the main ones. Now, you can click on each of these different sections, the top reels and top posts or whatever back here. You can click on each of those if you just click that arrow, and it'll bring you to this page. And it shows you all of the reels or posts or whatever that you have posted over that month. Now at the top, there's a spot right here where it says likes, and then it also says last year. So you can sort that all the way up to your last year. If you click on this drop-down menu right here that says likes, it brings you to this page, and you can select which metric to sort it by. So you can tell which pieces of content did better based on different things like comments, likes, saves, so on and so forth. So how I use each of these to determine what content did well and what to do more of. The comments tell me, okay, how good was my call to action? Did people actually want to interact with the stuff that I posted? Did they listen to what I said? Did they even read that far? Stuff like that. So that's kind of tells me more about how my caption did, just because usually if I'm putting a call to action, it's in the caption. And usually I tell people to comment. Next one is likes. Did people actually enjoy the content? Now we know that not everybody who watches your stuff is going to want to comment on it at all, honestly. So the next best thing is going to be a like. Did somebody take the time to watch it and actually enjoy it? Next is saves. And that tells me, did people actually find this information useful enough to want to come back to later? Now, the only thing with this one is, again, you do have to think about the people out there who are in your same industry and maybe are using you for inspiration. So, I mean, that's good that people are using you for inspiration, but also keep that in mind just whenever you see saves. Next is reach, and that just tells you how many new faces saw that post or that reel or whatever, which is actually really cool to see, because you may only have, 1,000 followers, but if maybe your reach was like 10,000, like that's how many people saw your post. That's really cool. And then the last one that I pay attention to is shares, which, did they like this content enough to share with their friends? Did they, actually want to post about it and tell more people about my content, which in turn shows my content to more people. So those are the different things that I use. And whatever did best based on, the main one I focus on usually is going to be just the likes and the shares. To me, those are the most important, which, by the way, if you have ever heard somebody say that saves are like a super like to the Instagram algorithm, they're lying. That's not the case. Just ignore that. So likes and shares are the main ones that I use to determine what to post about. Okay, next thing is your growth strategy. Now, there's not a lot on this slide just because of the fact that growth strategy is actually pretty simple when you break it down. So when I say growth strategy, I'm talking about how are you going to get more eyes on your content? How are you going to grow your following, which will in turn hopefully grow your sales? The first thing is utilizing SEO, which if you don't know what that means search engine optimization within your Instagram account. So if you've ever ran a blog before or anything like that, you have to be really good about using keywords, because if somebody types into Google or even Pinterest or something like that, certain keywords, you want your post to be the first one to pop up. Same thing goes with Instagram. You have to be utilizing those keywords within your Instagram account, thinking about terms that your ideal person is going to be searching. So again, last week we talked about target audience and who you want to be speaking to. What kind of things are they searching? You have to make sure to include that stuff in basically everything you do. So ideally, you want to be including keywords in your name field, which we're going to be breaking this down a little bit more, I believe, next week. So if you're confused right now, I'll break it down next week for you, but you're going to include keywords in your name, which is like your name field on your Instagram account. That's it's the bold letters. Oh, you can't see. It's okay. It's the bold letters underneath your name right there, or not name, underneath your picture. Include keywords in there. You're also going to want to include keywords throughout the rest of your bio. And then anytime you make a post, include keywords in there, but you're also going to use the alternative text function. So I posted a reel about this recently as well. So if you're confused, just go check that out. I walk you through step-by-step how to use it, how to get to it, all the things. But basically, whenever you post, if you click the advanced settings option on there, it'll take you to this page. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see alternative text. It's ideally for like impaired users, but it also helps with the searchability of your post. So you can talk about what your post is about. Now you have a very limited amount of characters, so you can't like write down a whole lot, but it's a good chance to use keywords and put it into a sentence format. The next thing you can do to increase SEO on your Instagram account is utilizing hashtags and locations. So hashtags are extremely important. Do not skip out on that step. Now, I'm not a hashtag expert. I can't give like a whole lot of hashtag advice. I can direct you to a few people who can give you hashtag advice, but my biggest tip is using hashtags that, again, your target audience is going to be searching for. You have to think like your target audience isn't looking for hashtag Monat hair, hashtag Monat market partner, hashtag Monat gratitude. Like that's not what they're looking for. You know, they're going to be looking for hashtag thin hair, hashtag postpartum hair loss, hashtag hand tight extensions, hashtag balayage, like stuff like that. Think about what your kind of person is going to be looking for and get even more niche specific with that. I mean, for me, like I use hashtag Instagram tips, IG tips, stuff like that. What is your ideal person going to be looking for? And then the last one, like I already said, is locations. And this is just good for people local to you to find you. I know I love to look local to me and see like who I can connect with around here. And I know a lot of other people are the same way. So utilizing those locations, just making sure that you put your location with every single post and kind of testing out and seeing how many posts are in each location. Because if something is like, if you're only posting in your big town near you, like for example, I'm in Austin, but I don't live in Austin. I live in Leander, which is just north. It's a smaller town. For a long time, I was posting in Austin, Texas, and there's like well over 1 million posts underneath that location. So it's like as soon as I would post something to that, 20 other people would also use that same location, and it would just shove my post down on the page. So it wasn't helping me at all. But the more I started using the Leander location, I started connecting with more people, and my post wasn't getting pushed down so quickly or anything like that. So be creative with that. And also like if you're at a specific restaurant or hotel or venue or, you know, whatever it may be, I would suggest using that over whatever city you're in because people will look up that stuff. So that is SEO for your growth strategy. The next one is something that I will go into a little bit later, but it's cross-posting on different platforms. Now, this is, I would consider this more of like an advanced social media thing. So I wouldn't think too far into this. This is just something to keep on your radar for the future. But my suggestion is get really good with Instagram first, really get a handle on it, figure it out, and then maybe branch out to one more, maybe like Pinterest or TikTok or Clubhouse or even Facebook or something, whatever. Think about where your ideal client is and what kind of platforms they're hanging out on, and then, you know, work on those too. But I know Jasmine Star did a podcast not too long ago, I think maybe like a couple weeks ago, about how to cross post on like every single platform out there. And I actually even have a map drawn out of how you can cross post on a blog, a podcast, your Linktree, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, like all the things. I have it all drawn out and how to use one piece of content across all of those platforms. So I will share that with you guys soon, but it's something to think about of just like reusing content on multiple platforms. Like if you make a really good reel, why not post it on TikTok? You might as well see how it does, just because it's more eyes on your stuff. Now, again, think about where your ideal client is hanging out, because, you know, if your ideal person is somebody in their 40s or 50s, like They're probably not hanging out on TikTok. They're probably on Linktree or on Facebook, you know? So that's where you want to make those posts. Last thing with your growth strategy, and this is something we already talked about, is using your insights. But I highly suggest coming back monthly to your insights just to see how things did, see what worked, see what didn't, and use those analytics to create more content that people like and will reach more people. Like, did you have a reel that went really viral? Break it down. Okay, how long was it? Did you include a lot of text or didn't you? Was it more educational? Was it more entertaining? Was it something that actually appealed to your ideal client? Like, break it down and figure out, okay, what is it about this that did so good compared to any of the other content that I had posted? Okay, last thing we're going to chat about is your engagement strategy. So this is the most important part of any strategy that you have. Well, I take that back. I feel like the content is really important. So it's equally as important as the content portion of it. So we're going to talk about a couple of do's and a couple of don'ts, mainly the don'ts. So first thing is, do not wait for other people to come and talk to you. If you're in our accountability group, you know the task for today is to talk to 10 new people. So it's that same kind of thing. You have to be the one to go out and reach new people. And you have to think, you have to give engagement in order to receive engagement on your own stuff. You can't just post and ghost. So when you make a post, talk to new people. And we're going to talk about a step-by-step plan on like how you can actually incorporate an engagement strategy into your everyday routine. But in summary, just don't post and ghost. Make an effort to actually talk to people, hold conversations in the DMs, respond to all of your comments, stuff like that. Next thing is, whenever you do go and talk to people, do not blow them up. There's nothing I hate more than opening up my phone and seeing that I have 20 likes and then going to my notifications and scrolling through and seeing that like 15 of them are from one person liking every single post that I made recently. Like, it's the most annoying thing ever. Don't be that person. Maybe like 1 or 2 of their pictures, and then you can go from there. Don't be creepy. Don't make it weird. Just a couple posts, you know, like if that. And then the last thing is, do not only engage with people that are in your business. So I know it's really easy to get caught up in watching like the top earners Instagram stories and really only responding to their stuff, or like people on your team or whatever. Make it a point to engage with other people that aren't in your business, because chances are they're not the person you're trying to get on your team. They're not the person you're trying to get to use your products or even just consume your content in general, right? So you need to make it a point to engage with the people you want to see your content. So now we're going to go ahead and break down an actual engagement schedule that you can incorporate in your everyday routine. So you've already got your content calendar made. You've already got your posts drafted for the week. Every single day, this is all you have to do. You can literally do it in 25 minutes if you wanted, even less. Or you can make it take up to an hour. It's just up to you and whatever time you've got with your schedule. But before posting, you need to spend anywhere between 10 to 30-ish minutes, like I said, whatever you have time for, engaging with the people that are already following you. So the way that I personally do this is I will look at my stories and swipe up and you can see who has watched it. That's usually where I figure out who to engage with. So I'll go through and I'll see, okay, you know, who's already in my business. I'm going to skip them, not engage with them for right now. My goal is to engage with the people that are watching my stories consistently, probably pretty religiously, and engage with them. So I'll click on their profiles and you can see if they posted a story. For me personally, I like to engage with stories the most, because in the DMs is where the real relationships start. So if they post a story and I feel like I've got something that I can respond to that and say back, then I'm going to go ahead and start a conversation about it. Now, if you're in my sales training, we've talked about this before. The best way to start a conversation with people is to give them a compliment and then ask some sort of an open-ended question, which an open-ended question is something that they can't say like yes, no, or thank you to. You want to actually start a conversation and get things going with them. Now, you can do that with their stories, or you can go ahead and leave comments on their newer posts. It's really up to you, whatever you have time for. I feel like maybe responding to their stories can be a little bit more time consuming, whereas on a post, you can just say something really quick. It's up to you, but spend 10 to 30 minutes doing that. And then after you've done that, then go ahead and make your post for the day. Make sure that you include your hashtags, your locations, your alternative text, all the things, just to make sure other people can see it. And then over the next 10 to 30 minutes after that, kind of keep an eye on your comments and just like respond whenever people comment and stuff like that. But the next 10 to 30 minutes after that, you're going to focus on engaging with new people. So the way that I do this is there's two different ways. You can either pick the location that you made a post under and engage with those people. That's a really good way to connect with people that are local to you. Or you can pick like 5 hashtags out of the 30 hashtags that you just posted and scroll through there and engage with people in there. I try and make it a point to engage with at least one person in like 5 different hashtags usually. And that usually kind of helps me branch out to a bunch of different types of people. And I'll do the same exact thing with that. I'll go to their profile, see if they have any stories up that I can respond to. And another thing too is like in terms of who I ideally want on my team when as far as this business goes, is I want somebody who's already like kind of showing up on social media at least a little bit. So chances are they've probably posted at least 1 or 2 stories over the past 24 hours. So that kind of helps me gauge too, like, is this somebody I actually want to engage with or not? And then again, respond and then start a conversation with those and then keep track of the comments as I'm going on the post that I had just made so I can respond to those too. That usually only takes a couple of minutes. So that's an engagement schedule that you can do in, 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time you have. And that's all you need to do to connect with new people. So I know that was a lot of information thrown at you. If you guys want, I can share. I'll share the recording after this so you guys have all of this and you can take notes if you need to, if you didn't already. But next week, we're going to be breaking down what it looks like to make your Instagram look pretty. Now, again, this isn't like my full expertise, but I feel like I can talk about it at least a little bit because I break it down in my niche calls one-on-one. So we'll talk about your Instagram aesthetics, how to make it look pretty. We're going to talk about how to brand yourself, which is basically how you make yourself stand out and separate yourself from anybody else in your industry on social media. And then we're also going to be taking some time at the end to do live bio audits. So if you guys are up for that, I'll be pulling a few of y'all up and we can break down your bio and talk about what to include, what not to include, stuff like that. And I'll walk you through what to fix. So does anybody have questions before I go ahead and end this? Go ahead and stop recording.